morning. Good morning, people of the world, the boxing world, the combat sports conglomerate, the MMA hardcores, the Muay Thai ticket sellers, the kickboxing knickerbocker glories. Yeah, yes. This is Belfast Boxing and Blues. You know where to get it. It's your one stop shop. Anytime you want to call around, just hit the button. Just hit the button. We're here night and day. And we're going to make it happen yet again. Because you know what? We have an undefeated record here to hold up and to do justice every time. Every time that we deliver. It's it's top level stuff. You know, best in the game. Some would say. Some would say. Many, many would say that. But that's what boxing's all about, isn't it? It's, we have opinions. Yeah, we're here to disagree. We're here to fight. We're here to fight. Yeah, so you know, we can't go around claiming to be boxing fans and, oh yeah, you know, I think I might have been handy in my day and stuff like that. Well, prove it, get in there and fight, verbally, psychologically, and psychopathically, occasionally, humorously. Maybe, whatever it is, guys, whatever it is you gotta do it. That's a 2 minute intro right there. You won't find that anywhere else on the internet. An intro like that, of that duration, of that intensity, you will not find it anywhere else, any other city on earth and beyond. So, like, you know what we're gonna do today? We're gonna look at Joe Calzaghe's career, my favorite fighter. You know, this is supposed to be some sort of journalistic outlet. It just shouldn't be about the person sat in the chair and who they like, but you know what? We need something to relate to. So this is just, this is my favourite fighter. He happens to be my favourite fighter. That is incidental. We are going to check out what is going on with Joe Calzaghe today. So, like, what is there to say about Joe Calzaghe? Let's find out. 46-0, 32 knockouts. That is a respectable knockout percentage for someone that a lot of people say was a slapper. They call him a dirty wee slapper, but you know what? He slapped hard. Southpaw, he would load up with the left hand earlier in his career. He had real power. I mean, watch him in against Eubanks, you know, he put him down in the first round. The guy could whack. His hands apparently were knackered. Apparently, I think it was Frank Warren had said that he was getting his hands wrapped up like this. You know, he was hitting the guys full force like that. And yeah, the thing started to go wrong. Whatever the reasoning was there, you know, who are we to question the techniques and the wherewithal, really, of Enzo Calzaghe, rest in peace. What a character, what a great guy. What a great story as well, you know, because he didn't really have much of a boxing background. Apparently, when his son Joe got into it, he went and bought a book, or he read this book, and he started picking the stuff up, and he liked his music too, so he was going, blah, blah, blah. Where's my 6 and 7s? Where's the 6 and 7s? Shine there, shine. You know, the guy was just full of it, man, in the best way possible. So let's see, Joe, what have we got going on here, mate? Alias Pride of Wales, the Italian Dragon. So his father was from Sardinia or somewhere like that, and so yeah, I mean the HBO guys really lapped it up. It was like, oh, well, his father was a jazz musician and such and such. I don't know if he was really a jazz musician. He might really like jazz and stuff. But I remember one of the interviewer was asking him one of the little documentary pieces. So, Enzo, what were some of your favorite standards? And Joe was there. Joe was going, "Come on, Dad, House of the Rising Sun, Hotel California, and stuff like that." So I was like, "Shit, I'm being exposed here." But here, that's all right. I'm sure he could play with the very best of them, and he must have been able to do in order to transfer that musical stuff genetically and practically to his son. So, look, 5'11", you know, great height for a super middleweight. I thought he was a wee bit taller. 5'11" anyway, 180 centimeters that is. Uh, Reached 73-inch reach. You know, he was a big guy. Newbridge, Wales. See, they had that little boxing club, and they had them running up and down them hills, the Welsh Valleys, and he liked that because he had the peace and quiet as well, didn't he? And you know, his mum was a little bit worried he was getting into the rough and tumble world of boxing, because he was a lovely looking guy, and she didn't want to see his looks, you know, messed up, and they never were. They never were. Um, he got clipped a few times, Calzaghe, but he always got back up. He got back up and he got stuck in. He had that macho streak, didn't he? Yeah. Now, do you know what? 46 fights. I think I actually watched every single one of these. Just giving myself a bit of credit here for the dedication I showed as a young guy. I probably can't remember who these people are now. Max Kellerman or one of these dudes, you know. You have Kellerman, Lampley, and Emmanuel Stewart, God rest him, who I loved. He was my favourite, you know. I was watching a lot of the, you know, Big Joe Calzaghe fights. That was what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear those three guys. You know, Lampley, he's the play-by-play guy, isn't he? Well, let's left hook, and that's right hand downstairs. Ooh, 1-2. he's right on top of it. And then you have Max Kellerman, who was still a bit wet behind the ears. And I want to say wet behind the ears, but he was young. And you could see that his own little biases, you know, he loved Roy Jones Jr., of course, like, you know, must have been a big hero for him growing up and all that. When Calzaghe was doing the stuff on Roy Jones Jr., Kellerman was losing his mind, you know, and he was picking holes in Joe all the time. It was like, well, you know, I think Manuel Stewart goes, "This is a special fighter. This guy's really something, you know." And Kellerman's going, "Well, Emmanuel," it's like, "Sorry, Max, you're speaking to a man 20, 30 years your senior here," and he's pure talking over him and stuff, and it's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing, Max Kellerman? Chill out." And let Emmanuel speak the wise stuff, you know. A little bit later, Kellerman catches himself on, you know what I mean? I'm sure he looks back on those early broadcasts with disgust at his younger self and some self-love and understanding. So anyway, look, he goes in against Paul Hanlon. Bing, bang, bong, first round knockout. Paul Mason, first round knockout. Spencer Alton, like Alton Towers, second round knockout. Martin Rosamond, first round knockout. Darren Littlewood, he's knocking everybody out here, right? So bang, 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 all the way up. Knockout, right? So he gets to like his 12th fight, and he finally goes the distance against Bobby Joe Edwards. Alright, fair enough. Then he goes in against Robert Curry. Let's see, Nick Manners, Jerome Jackson, Steve Wilson, Guy Stanford, Anthony Briggs, knockouts. Mark Delaney, Warren Stowe, Pat Lawler, Carlos Christie. And, you know, people say he fought bums. Tyler Hughes, Luciano Torres, you know, knockouts. Tactical knockout. Yeah, a lot of these were stopped because Joe when he was hurt the guy, and then it was flurries, so it was these quick punches, you know, hyperspeed, you know. The intensity was great, and it was interesting to watch. Then I don't think in terms of his movement and his lovely fluid style, I hadn't, you know, was sort of just developing bit by bit. he was a bit more typical in his stance and stuff like that. Uh, but you could see the punches, and you could see the punches and punches. You could see the speed that he had. So it took a little while before we got to the real, stylist Joe Calzaghe. You know what? I'm not actually entirely sure if I am using that word correctly. And you know what? It's all about education, isn't it? Like, so let's find out what stylist truly means. And I don't want to hear no hairdresser stuff. I say stylist, feminism, fashion, beauty. This is not the road I wanted to go down. Where are we? What is stylist? Right, this is no good. Hang on. Stylist meaning. We'll see which one of these dictionaries, these institutions of grammar. Stylist, a designer of fashionable clothing. Like, get away, mate. A hairdresser, yeah. Oh, obviously. Okay, here we are. Now, meaning number 2, a person whose job is to arrange and coordinate food, clothes, etc. in a stylish and attractive way in photographs or films, a food stylist. 3, a writer noted for taking great pains over their writing style. Well, that sounds a bit silly. In sports and music, a person who performs with style. So we can blend that all in. You've got the clothing. They're looking after their hair. They coordinate their outfits. They make sure their food looks well. It's stylish. It's attractive. When they're doing their writing, whatever it is, writing a wee letter or whatever it might be they're doing, they make sure that each word is placed correctly and is beautiful. And when it comes in and they get into the ring, then you know what it is. They perform with style each and every time. And that's why we keep coming back to watch the great Joe Calzaghe. So what do we have here? Tyler Hughes, Luciano Torres, Chris Eubank. Okay, here we are. You're going to step up, mate. You fought all these guys, all these English level guys, yeah? And you're going in against Chris Eubank. Now, I believe he was supposed to fight Steve Collins for the title. Right? Steve Collins, like, took a wee look over at Calzaghe and was like, no, I don't think this psychological warfare shit's going to work on him. Okay, I'm just going to pull out of this fight. And I think a couple of weeks before, Eubanks comes in and is like, yes, I will fight him. I believe Joe is a... Sorry, that's crap. I'm gonna work on that today and come back with the best Chris Eubanks fucking impression you've ever heard in your life. That's gonna be amazing. So we're like, they get into the fight. The big thing was Eubank took him to the trenches for the first time. He went in there and it was war. It was blood and it was guts. It was fucking platoon. It was Full Metal Jacket. It was 1969, man. It was the worst of times. It was the best of times. So, he put him down in the first round, and he thought to himself, well, this is going to be an easy fight. And Eubank sort of got up and looked at him and just went, yes. And the two of them got into it. And here, 12-round unanimous decision for Super Joe. No average Joe. He does it again. And what a great win. And that must have been a big thing for him. That was like, right, now I am the fucking man. I've done that. I beat you, Banks. Look, I'm away off now to fight a few more questionable fighters before I get to the prime of my career. So we fight, we start to get these international guys in, right? So, and it was the WBO title then that he picked up in that fight against Chris Eubank, and that was the one that he held on to more or less for the rest of his career before he bounced up. I mean, he went up to, what do you call that other place that's above silver middleweight, light heavyweight? That's where he bounced up to, but that doesn't come along for a wee while yet. So look, we'll rattle off a few names here. He knocks that guy out. The next guy is Juan Carlos Jimenez. Dead on. The next fight, right, that matters is Robin Reed. Now, that was a split decision over 12 rounds, and it was not Joe's best performance. But you know what? He got the result. Whatever way you want to look at it, he got the result. And if he had lost that fight clearly, he wouldn't have got the result. Yeah. Um, Fair play to Robin Reid. He came in to flip the script to upset the apple cart. Or maybe even at that time, although Calzaghe was the big prospect, it might have been a bit of well, this could go either way. Reid's a good looking guy, Reid's a good fighter, but I'm sure the matchmakers and stuff were looking at Calzaghe and going, no, wait, we know this guy's going to be really, really good. So, although Reid put in a good show in there, you know what? I think Joe got the nod. Joe got the nod, didn't he? Yeah, he won that one. So Rick Thornberry, I don't let anybody, don't you ever forget it, right? Next, right, unanimous decision, and he starts going the distance a wee bit here. A couple of unanimous decisions, and he was in against Omar Sheikha. And I believe Omar Sheikha was, sort of the first in a line of 4 or 5 guys that were sort of previous world title holders. In fact, they'd just come off losing their title, and then they come along and fought Calzaghe, which was one of the things that he used when asked to explain his record, why he, you stayed in Wales all this time, you didn't fight anybody and all this, You could see that had got to him a bit, but the man was plagued with hand injuries and things that were out of his hands, quite literally, and so that must have been annoying to have to explain that all the time to some punk journalist come along and go, oh, Joe, how come you didn't do this? It's like, well, look, mate, do you want me to explain it to you? Like, let's go into the gym here, right? There's a wee pair of mitts for you. I'll even give you the head guard. And I'm going to explain to you how it happened in here, right? Right? So I like Omar Sheikha. Next up was he beat Omar Sheikha in 5 rounds. Right. Next up was Richie Woodall, who I really like. No relation to Steed, of the same surname by the way. So Richie Woodall comes in, gives him a real good challenge. I mean, Woodall had been a world champion by that time already, or might have went on to have been one around the same age. Same era, same generation, so they would have been quite friendly with each other, and they're both kind of nice guys. So, and Richie Woodall was a real good sort of bread and butter, meat and potatoes type of fighter, but a good boxer, and obviously a great knowledge in boxing too. And we respect Woodall for the work that he does. He's a good presenter. He's good at breaking down fights, and he's good at being relatable to the audience in a way that, oh, this guy's teaching us stuff. It's like, right, Richie, man, you're alright. Okay, so he beat him anyway, like Mario, Vite, Will McIntyre, TKO. He's still knocking these guys out. He's stopping them, So the hand trouble mustn't have really, really got that bad just yet. So, I mean, we're getting into the further stages of his career. Maybe a little bit later, his hands start to go, and that's when he should be maybe, I don't know if we would fight Roy Jones, or, there were a lot of American fighters, marquee names, that he could win in against. I'm sure he would have happily done so. Whether he would have went to America that early on, because I'm sure there was a certain amount of fear and stuff there too, that like he could go to America and they could just do him, and all of the hard work he'd done to build up his name, these guys could just wipe him out in favour of some dude that's nowhere near as talented, and didn't really have the same future he had. They could just use Calzaghe as a name, as an opponent. So that could have been part of it too. But by the time he went over there, he had cemented his status, and he knew that he wasn't going to be that hard done by in terms of judging or dodgy decisions and things like that. So anyway, Will McIntyre, Charles Brewer was a good fight, wasn't it? Unanimous decision. Jimenez, unanimous decision. Tucker, Pudwill, TKO, second round. That was Baron Mitchell. What a fight that was! That was brilliant, man. He was put down in the second round. Calzaghe's macho streak comes to the surface, and he gets stuck there, and he's swinging these punches. He's swinging a right hook, and he goes right down over like that. It's like he slings the punch, and he's down here. Fucking burn myself. It's like, Jesus, man, this is drama. This is high drama, and this is such a good example of what Calzaghe brought to the ring in terms of entertainment and drama. This guy was like insane. He was so he was so good to watch because he had that macho streak. He was a beautiful fighter. He was a stylist, and he wasn't afraid to get stuck in when the going got tough. Joe got going. So up again, we got this Murkitson guy. Did away with him in the seventh round. Kavari Salim, Mario Val, Shearer. Okay, maybe get to the big one, right? It's Jeff Lacey, IPF, World Supermate. Supermate. Supermate, yeah. I have a couple of Supermates, you know. You know the sort of guy I'm talking about. Like, he's just anything you need done, he's there. Like, Supermate is great. Helps you with your feelings and all. Like, so yeah, fucking Jeff Lacey, right? The build up of that was great. How good was all the little films and the interviews and stuff in the lead up? The guy in the hood comes by and he's in his car and he goes, Joe Calzaghe, Jeff Lacey going to back him up. What? And he drives off. It was really cool. It was really cool. And you know, Jeff Lacey's like, one of us has got to lose. And everybody's like being quiet and stuff. And it ain't gonna be me. You know what? Lacey was a good fighter. You know, some people might have said afterwards, oh, he was a hype job and stuff like that, but he was knocking everybody out. He was a pretty scary prospect. In hindsight, it's easy to say that, but a lot of people thought he was going to do Joe. The people that really knew, you know, you had Barry McGuigan in the gym with Joe, and he's going, that jab, you want to keep that jab in his face all night. It's like lightning. And he goes, you're looking trim, and he starts poking Joe in the belly. He goes, I am, man, I am. And Barry McGuigan's giving him the game plan and all. Like, you want to do this, you want to do that. And Joe's like, yeah, I'll bear that in mind. Like, so like anyway, he goes in there, and as Gareth A. Davis says, you know, Calzaghe had painted a masterpiece. You know, you want to look at your Lomachenkos and your Chocolatitos and guys like that who work off that angle, that pivot thing where they move around. Joe Calzaghe was the master. That he was the original and best at that one. And the punches were coming from all angles. The combinations were insane. They were insane. You know, hooks, straight shots down the pipe. You know, 7, 8, 9, 10 punch combinations. This guy was nuts. Like, he was so nuts. And he completely shut Lacey out. I think he might have had a point deducted from him. You know, and Lacey was standing back at the ref, and Calzaghe was bouncing. And the guy was just great, man. He was box office stuff. So, like, you know, you have to go and watch that fight. If for some reason you haven't, go and watch that fight, man, because it's just beautiful. Next time he's up against Sakio Bika, African guy who may have been French via Africa or otherwise. Biko was a dirty fighter. I don't know if he fought of a shoulder roll, but he was a strange guy. The punches were coming in from everywhere, and it's like he had big spiked knuckles, and he was a very hard fighter to look good against. But Joe managed to get the win there. You know, you could argue that the Bika fight was harder for him than Lacey. I think he made the Lacey fight look easy. And Bika's just a guy that's hard to look good against. So up comes Peter Manfredo next, who had won one of these things like the Ultimate Fighter or something like that. He had won one of these programs, you know, and he had come over, and of course, you know, the Americans put a lot of stock in him and stuff like this, and you know, this guy can really fight and stuff. Calzaghe, well, he done him in 3 rounds, like, and it was a little bit embarrassing, but Calzaghe was sort of merciless with him. No, he didn't really bully him and beat him up and stuff like that, but I think he wanted to demonstrate, like, this is boxing. You know, you can't go on this little show and I think you can compete with me. Super middleweight champion of the world, unified by this stage, I might add. So that was okay. Now, he had to drop that IBF belt in order to go in against him. For some reason, he had to drop the IBF belt. Otherwise, his next fight against Mikhail Kessler would have been for the undisputed. Yeah, which we make such a big deal out of, and Canelo was the first undisputed. Well, I think it was Joe Calzaghe. You'll find Canelo. I think you think you're fine. Let's look at the top super middleweights. We've got Roy Jones Jr., we got Andre Ward, we got Joe Calzaghe, and we got Canelo. Now, where you place them, a lot of people, right off the top, right off the bat, you're gonna have Roy Jones Jr. right at the top, man, right? And a few would argue, a few of us Calzaghe fanboys might want to stick him up there. Well, you could argue, well, it doesn't really matter. They were both great fighters in their own right. James Toney obviously was the biggest star, the American fighter, and the fighter of his generation, pound for pound, probably the best fighter of the '90s. So like whatever way you want to put it, it's all good. They're all up there. Andre Ward's probably in third there then. And Canelo, yeah, undisputed, but I think you find that Joe Calzaghe is ahead of you in that list, right? I think so. I think so. In the super middleweights anyway, like I say, no bias here whatsoever. So he goes in against Mikhail Kessler, right? Who is Mikhail Kessler's Danish, isn't he? Or Denmark, or Dan, or somewhere like that. So his what was the story now with Kessler? So he had the WBC and the WBA. He was unified. He was quite young at this time. Very handy with a straight right hand. He was accurate and he had a lot of power. He was a good boxer. I mean, good with the straight shots. Like I say, that right hand was tidy. It was compact. The right hook as well. It wasn't a winging shot. It wasn't a wild overhead thing, And his timing was very good. By that stage, a proven fighter. I mean, he was 39-0 then, and that again was another great performance. Not too long after the Jeff Lacey fight. In fact, it was about a year and a half later. He goes in against Kessler, and I thought, it wasn't the same comprehensive beatdown to what you'd give Lacey. It was more a great back and forth display of boxing, and it took Calzaghe a little while to warm into the fight. And he was doing his little thing, depending on out again, and he come around, time like that, and fire up a wee jab, or the right hand, he would throw it like a strange looking right hand like that, with the timing and stuff. Whenever that started to work, and his feet were behind him, just tiny little bits of showboating, but it was effective at the same time, and what he was doing. And it was cute and it was clever, and he knew then as well this wasn't HBO. All of the American fans and stuff had his eyes on him, so he wanted to show them. Like, you can say what you've said about my record staying on wheels and stuff like this. I'm going to demonstrate to you now that I am top pound for pound. Yeah, 2 or 3 in the world here. Let me show you here. And Emmanuel Stewart, seen it, yeah? Emmanuel Stewart, he knew the crack. Is Joe Calzaghe is a special fighter. He's Kellerman was protesting. I don't think you understand, Emmanuel. I really need to work on these impressions, don't I? But all I want to say is I loved Emmanuel Stewart. I thought he was the greatest commentator to listen to, and he was like, I just loved him, man. What a guy, Crunch and Tommy fucking Hearns. Like, well, what more do you want? Like, so you know, and then obviously later he done a bit with Klitschko and stuff and loads of different guys, and he's survived by his nephew. Uh, he's keeping the legacy going. Sugar Hill Stewart. He's done great work with Tyson Fury. Lovely stuff. So look, we're right near the end of his career here. Next up is Bernard Hopkins. The Hopkins fight was messy. Hopkins had a great game plan. He had studied Calzaghe and he knew what to do. He had a feel-safe move and he used it again and again. He was always leading him with the head. He was timing Calzaghe. He knew Calzaghe was not over anxious, but he was Calzaghe would just come right in, and he was just timing him. He was stepping off to his right or stepping off to his left, hitting him with the right hook, and then in with the head and clinch. And he just done it again and again and again. Now Calzaghe, the master of adjustments, he had adjusted well in the Kessler fight. Something that confused Kessler, being he was too young to understand what it really went down. You know, he seemed to be winning that fight, and all of a sudden something changed, and Joe wasn't tapping him. It was like, how did that happen? Yeah, so like against Hopkins, he made the adjustment, and he probably from about the fifth round onwards, fourth or fifth round, he made it work for him, and even then he was still up against it, and the rounds were still tight, I thought, but you know, Calzaghe was smart enough to not only implement or change up his strategy to effectively win the rounds in that regard, but also being in the States, he then on top of that had that flair. He made it look good, so it was like you're giving the judges every other reason to to score for you, yeah. So like, we have to keep going here. Do you ever hear in boxing like they talk about somebody being a front runner? Like they come in and they're full of beans and energy, and then like halfway through the fight they start dying off. It's like, he's a front runner, that boy. Yeah, but then he catches his second wind and he comes in and it's like, ooh, okay, and he's taking his time a wee bit. Yeah, gotta watch out for them front runners. So like the Hopkins fight, there were little disputes back and forth. Hopkins, you know, apparently got a low blow off Calzaghe. He took the full 5 minutes. Most fighters don't. They're like, no, I'll be a man, you know, and they just get on with it. Hopkins, no, Hopkins wasn't having that. Hopkins, I'll take the full 5 minutes. And he was complaining like mad and saying this and saying that. Like, I think it was quite clear to see that Calzaghe won the fight. That was a split decision. Although some of the American Bernard Hopkins fans might have felt a bit hard done by. Hopkins was the right age then. I think he was 42 when they fought. But then again, Joe was 36 or 37. So, and you know, quite famously, Hopkins preserved himself. You know, he kept himself in real good shape. He looked after himself, didn't he? And he was like, oh! He was just going about things the right way, wasn't he? So his body was just like preserved. The 42-year-old man, he was still fit to compete, and then he went on to win titles, Shimonov and all that, didn't he? You know, he thought he was 50 or something ridiculous like that. And of course, that kind of puts a bit of extra shine on Calzaghe's one. Anyway, look, they done that. Sorry, prior to that fight, how can we neglect to mention this? Hopkins says, I would never lose to a white boy. I would never lose to a white boy. It's like, Joe was just like, you will lose. You will lose. Fight me and you will lose. You know, and then like, you know, Cameron was sort of coming out and saying, Well, Joe said I wouldn't lose to a white boy, to a green boy, to a purple boy, to a black boy. Oh wait, to yeah. So you know how it is. Anyway, the Roy Jones Jr. fight comes up, and in contrast to that acrimonious build up and such, Roy Jones Jr. and Calzaghe were like, "Well, mate, you want to have a wee fight here? I think there's a few million in it for us." And Jones was like, "Yeah, why not? Give me a shout, sure. With Vegas." Aye, Grant, MGM Grant, aye, that'll do, that'll do. So, I mean, sorry, it was Madison Square Garden. The Madison Blues. And that's where that shit went down. So, that was a unanimous decision for Calzaghe. He painted another masterpiece. I love to watch this fight. When I was younger, especially, Calzaghe's rhythm and those scoring those hooks to the body and upstairs. I was like, wow, this is beautiful. Some of them were tippy tappy shots, but Emmanuel Stewart said it, man. He says, look, it's not easy to take punches off a big man like that. And it's so true. It's so true, man. A big guy like that. Joe Calzaghe's taps are the equivalent of a quite hard, thing from somebody else. And it was like, it was a real good fight. Jones was cut and all, and he stayed in. And Kellerman, he was rattling on. He was saying, "We know Roy Jones is good, but how great is he?" And it turns out he was pretty great. He was pretty great, Max. All right, just leave it. And so in he comes. The fight went on. It was unanimous. In fact, it was a shutout. I do believe. It wasn't a shutout. Calzaghe was down in the first round. He was down in the first round against Hopkins as well. I think Jones Jr. put him down with like a little forearm or an elbow, and the little play-by-play thing. The replay was going, and Emmanuel Stewart goes, "Well, here you can see." Calzaghe ducks down, and you can see that Roy has anticipated the movement, and he just caught him with a perfect punch. And Kellerman's like, he had it tied up, like, signed, sealed, and delivered. And next thing, Kellerman's like, "But it looks like he hit him with his forearm." And I was like, "It's a perfect punch. It's a perfect punch." So leave it, Kellerman, just let it be. Bernard Hopkins had him down the first round as well. Like I say, Calzaghe rises to the occasion. He gets up and he gets into it. The hook comes in, slow motion. He goes back. He's a beautiful, beautiful fighter, man. A stylist of the highest degree and level. He is a champion, a fellow we look to, the pride of Wales, the Italian dragon. We love Joe Calzaghe because he is just a man. He is so cool. And yeah, what a guy. What a guy. Fun fact. Well, not really that fun for Joe, but Joe Calzaghe was bullied when he was in school. When I read that, being a young guy, it might surprise you to learn that I was bullied too, yeah. And, that was quite good for me to read. It was like, oh, this guy was bullied. Now, apparently the deal was, because he was boxing and stuff, he wasn't allowed to go and just beat these guys up. He couldn't do that, and so he had to take quite a bit of stick. And if somebody's bullied, usually they're maybe a little bit sensitive or something like that, which is a good thing, It's harder to be thick-skinned if you're sensitive, but if you can develop that thick skin and that mental strength, and you can probably do a bit more than the average punter. Because a sensitive person, an artist, let's say, sees, perceives and feels things that maybe not others don't see quite as readily, And so there's a price to pay for it, but if you can grow your cojones and get up and get in there, these we're all sensitive people. I'm going to try not to sing anymore right until this video's over. But, you know, look, somebody's bullying you. Knock them out verbally, yeah. But more than that, parry, catch their wee shot, dip the head, you know, hit them with that right hand and make sure that you floor them. Verbally, verbally is what I mean to say. And, you know, sometimes as well, just kind of hit them a wee tap early on. Just hit them a wee tap when you see them approaching. You get to learn where these bullies are coming in. I hit them with a couple of wee soft shots, just to let them know, don't fuck around here, motherfucker. Don't fuck around. But some of these bullies are real stupid. They're like, you know, and they think they're smart, man. These guys think they're smart. And I come in, they go, well, you know, oh, this guy knows what's going on here. And they then lull you and they go, I'm a nice guy, I'm a nice guy. And then they just go, yeah. It's like, okay. Okay. You want to go down that road? Ever. So, guys, you know, you have to look after yourself in these regards, don't you? It's sort of that's what it's all about, isn't it? Or a taxi man said to me once, you know, I always said taxi man said this, taxi man said that. I didn't really have like a dad kind of growing up, you know. Well, I did, but for one reason or another, that relationship really wasn't there, right? And you know, if I wasn't saying, you know, a taxi driver told me once, I'd probably be saying, you know, my dad said to me. I might my dad saying to me, yeah. But it's not that way for a lot of us, especially people involved in boxing, in whatever area they're involved in. A lot of times they come from a hard background. You know, that's not an uncommon thing for people's dads to be off the scene, you know what I mean? So I had to, I was constantly looking for father figures, you know, in the shape of taxi man. This guy was explaining to me one time. He says, son, look, you know, if you're confident, a bully will not approach you. A bully will try that shit if you're confident. I think that's true for the most part, depending on the situation, who you're with. If you're by yourself and you're outnumbered, they might still try and break you down slowly and stuff like that. You get guys that are quite snidey, that are snipe, you know, and they're cruel and stuff like that. And you gotta get hip to their game, you know, and get that confidence in the first place, so that for the most part they don't approach you. And if they do approach you and they try these things, then you have to be well versed in that psychological warfare, you know, because not only are you looking after yourself, yeah. If you're a little bit older, you've got family, you've got your brothers, you know, your sisters, your mother, your father, whatever it is, and you've got kids. And it's like, oh shit, it's like, it's time to man up now. You know, you have to, you have to, and these skills and these things can be acquired. And you could go from being a warrior to a warrior. It's not going to make you invulnerable. It's kind of like Kanye West, you know, when he's in the interview and he's like, we are the rock stars. It's like, I am the biggest one. Yeah, I'm going to apologize for it after it all. And he's like, oh, I'm not saying I'm infallible, you know, I'm not the Pope, but like, you know, I'm not even a priest or a monk, but I did serve as an altar boy for 3 years in my early teens. That was a joke, by the way. I would never serve as an altar boy. Just wouldn't go there, mate. Just wouldn't go there. But like I say, you have to look after yourself. And that's why I think things like boxing and stuff, they give you that discipline and that self-respect and stuff. And obviously, it gives you a few little skills. You know, if somebody does approach you, you know what I mean? And, you know, that's the last thing you want to do is put your hands on someone, especially when we get up in ages. You can't do it anymore. It's a different thing when you're a kid in the playground. It's a different thing when you're a teenager. It's a different thing when you're in your late teens, early 20s, and you're going out and it's all about the fighting. You know, where you could do these things without getting arrested and sentenced to all sorts of different things. So, you know, we grow up and we can't put hands on people anymore. So sometimes you'll be attacked more verbally, psychologically. There's all sorts of things that go on. So we need to equip ourselves with the necessary sort of tools and weapons. Shields, spears, be daggers, throwing stars. You see the bastard coming the other end of the club, just whoop. I know that point. Whoop. You catch him right, and you say, "Look, what do you think of me now? How'd you like me now?" Yeah. So guys, look, that's really all of what it is, isn't it? Joe Calzaghe, 46-0. We're going to time this perfectly. So this video is 46 minutes, right? 46-0. Wait a second, this is tricky. We have to get it just right. This is like magic, isn't it? Right, so it's Belfast Boxing and Blues, your one-stop shop for all the best stuff. Yeah, boxing related and blues related and also Belfast related. And 59, 56,